Good morning. Welcome back to the cult. Today we're talking again to Kirk from Speakeasy. He's got some exciting stuff that he's launching over there, and I'm super curious as to what's been going on there since the last time we talked. I try to keep updated, but I'm in a lot of rooms and I'm in my hands are in a lot of pies. So sometimes I things slip by me, and I'm glad you were able today to come back and fill me up on what's going on. So how's your day going, sir?
Hey, great. It is great to be back. As I was saying before we just got started here, you were the first AMA that we did for Speakeasy, and so now you're the first AMA that we're doing for this new rollout of our new project here with Speakeasy, and so that's synergy and exciting, and I'm doing good. How's your week starting out?
So far so good. Another Monday in DeFi paradise. Dog is passed out on the floor. Can't really complain, sir. So I guess we should start. We should keep it basic and keep in mind that I'm sure today is somebody's first day listening, finding out about Speakeasy. Why don't you do that previously on thing for us, and you can, previously sure. On Speakeasy, catch us up, tell us the basics for the people that don't know, and we'll go from there, sir.
Absolutely, that sounds great. So I'm going to share my screen with you with a little bit of slides that I can talk to here. We'll just, as you mentioned, just go over briefly what Speakeasy is. Speakeasy is a weekly ROI DApp that's been now up and running for almost 3 months. And basically, this is the layout of it. The idea behind it is that, first of all, we don't have a native token. We are launching a token, but the token that we're launching, we'll talk about that later, is not directly included in the protocol that you're seeing here. This protocol, the Speakeasy protocol, is BNB in and BNB out, and always has been and always will be. So we're taking a little bit of a different approach with our token, but we'll get into that in a bit. So basically what happens is you come into the contract by depositing BNB in. Half of that amount that you put in is permanently locked in our primary wallet, which is what we call the pot. The other 50% of it goes into a secondary wallet, which we call the bank. Those funds go out into external protocols to generate revenues to bring back into the pot to pay rewards. Obviously, we're trying to reduce the amount of quote unquote Ponzi-nomics in our protocol by generating actual revenues to pay out to our members instead of just paying out older members with deposits of newer members. So we're in 3 primary protocols, as you see here, that we're earning on. One is EMP, the other is Elephant Money, and the third is Wolf Capital. So that's one way that we're generating revenue. The second way that we generate revenue is via selling our own NFTs. And these NFTs allow you to boost your daily rate within the protocol. So that's a secondary revenue generation source that we have. And now we will have a third revenue generation source, which is our new token. And we'll get to that in a minute. Talking a little bit more real quickly about the NFTs, there are 2 layers of them, if you will. There is the first layer is what we call our membership keycard NFT. And there are 2 of those, a silver and a gold. They both do the same thing, which is basically bump your APR from the base 0.25 a day. In the case of silver, it boosts it to 0.50, and in the case of the gold, it boosts to 0.75. And it also gives you the opportunity to purchase a cocktail NFT, which is the second layer. You can't have one of our cocktail NFTs without the membership NFT. And again, but the functionality is the same with the cocktail NFTs. They're just providing yet a further boost to your daily APR. And so based on the combination of membership keycard NFT you have and cocktail NFT you have, you can work your way up to as much as 1.5 per day APR. And that is the maximum that we offer in the protocol. As I mentioned, we've been around now for a couple of months and have been, last time I was here, we were just about to launch, so it was all sort of theoretical. But now we've got several months under our belts. We've been paying out rewards to all of our members consistently now for that period of time. And we have still several $100,000 in additional funds invested into these protocols, as you see here, along with liquid assets in the treasury on top of that. So we're still in a very good position in terms of the war chest that we have built up. And the Speakeasy protocol itself is just, moving right along. So that's pretty much a quick overview of where we are, what we've achieved since the last time I talked to you. And, now we're ready to embark on this next category. Our protocol is real big on transparency in the actual DApp of Speakeasy. We always are showing where all the money is, how much there is, and where it's going. Right now, this was a snapshot from this morning. So we currently have in the protocol as a whole about 1,000 BNB, give or take. It kind of moves around. And we're paying out right now about 70 BNB a week. So that translates into saying, even if we didn't do anything and didn't take another dollar in deposits or made another dollar in investments, we have enough in the contract right now to sustain for 15 weeks. So that's almost 3.5 months or something like that. We've also been around long enough now that we're just getting into what I call ROI season, which means that our earliest adopters are now starting to ROI in their wallets. We've got about 10% in this next week that will be actually ROIing. And then every week after that, we'll have more and more ROIs. And that was really our first goal, of course, was to get to a place where people could ROI and then beyond into the profit area. So we're doing real well. And that's kind of where we are right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, last time we spoke, your biggest focus was the external capital.
Right.
External capital. I see you've added a couple of different protocols. Last time we spoke, it was primarily EMP, I think, and now you've added Wolf and that. What's been the most difficult thing for you since you started, as far as finding places to invest the money, finding places to make it grow? What do you think's been the biggest?
It's been a real challenge. It's not an easy thing to do, and to do it in a way that is as safe as you can do it in DeFi anyway. And as you can see from our average daily boost, we're actually paying out on average about 1% a day over all of our investors. So that's a manageable number, but it's still no walk in the park, right? So yes, we started out with our money primarily in EMP and then secondarily in Elephant. What we've done over time since we launched was we've started to move some of the funds out of EMP and into Wolf as we become more confident with what they're doing and watching what's going on. And not because there's any problem with EMP, by the way, and we're not selling any EMP token. What we've done is we had a huge position in the EMP ETH LP farm in EMP. And so what we've been doing is taking some of that LP token out of that farm, splitting the pair, keeping the EMP, and using the Ethereum to go into other contracts. So we're not hurting EMP at all by doing this. In fact, I had a conversation with AJ, who's the team lead over there, and told him what I was thinking about doing, and he was all for it. And so, EMP is kind of going through a transition right now. I won't get into inside baseball about that, but they're moving over to a whole new sort of economic model that they call Fusion. And so we're waiting, like everyone else, anxiously for that to actually launch so that we can reinvest all of this EMP that we're just sitting on. We've got almost about 500,000 EMP token that that we have, and so I can't wait to put that into Fusion. So it's been that kind of thing. It's just trying to find out, okay, well, if it, how can we get the maximum amount of returns on the money as safely as we possibly can, spread out the risk by being in a bunch of different protocols, and just take it from there. So that's been the biggest challenge. I think we've done a pretty good job of it. As I said, we're pretty much at the same place we were when we started in terms of our overall treasury, which is good considering we've been paying out all these rewards every week. So, we're holding our own, and, the market itself obviously is, sideways to, I guess, is maybe the best way to put it over the last couple of months. And, so, it's a challenging environment. There aren't a lot of protocols out there that are paying. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, I like what you, and I think, why can't I talk? Why can't I ever talk? I like that you're actively, I like that you're actively managing the funds, because it's, I didn't think of it as a shade or anything towards the NP. I thought of it as more like an opportunity cost. Right? It's just, it can do more for the protocol here at the time, so I'm going to put it here. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the same thing for me. It's just, it's not my money. So I want to look at it from the standpoint of what's the best for the protocol. And, if I can do well putting it somewhere else that I feel is reasonably safe, I'm going to do that. I still believe that long-term EMP is a great place to be. But I still have to try to earn as much as I can every day, every week, so that I can pay it back out to members.
I love it, sir. If we can linger on this topic a little bit longer, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I know we want to move on to the next token, but I'm super interested in your journey so far as a project developer. This was your first one, and I'm curious. I've already asked you what the biggest problem was. What do you think is your biggest success so far? What are you the most proud of? I'm curious, as opposed to what you said you would be last time.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think probably the answer to it is probably the community that we've been able to build here, both the community of investors that we have in Speakeasy, who for the most part are extremely supportive and fairly engaged, but then also the relationships that I've been able to build on behalf of the protocol with other projects and other influencers like yourself and owners of groups, and just trying to further along this idea of what DeFi can possibly be. And I like to think that we're playing a positive role in that, regardless of how long the project ultimately lasts. And so I feel like I've been able to meet a lot of good people, and we've been able to turn our investors onto some other projects with good people in them. Those kinds of things I think has been the most satisfying.
Have you had to turn down any partnerships? And if you have, why?
Interesting question. No, surprisingly, the partnerships that we have participated in so far, I've been the one that instigated them. I really don't, as a general rule, I don't, how should I put this? I don't really engage too much with unsolicited, whether it's marketing or other projects or like that. But through this network that I'm building up, like yourself and working with like Burn, Swap, and that kind of thing, and cookies and all those kinds of things. Generally, I come in and go, hey, I really like what you're doing here. I've gotten some positive feedback from people I trust. How can I help? Or in the case of like Foodtopian is an example that I can think of off the top of my head. I just went out and bought the NFTs from their treasury myself without even talking to them, and just created a program for our members to buy these NFTs bundled with some of our NFTs. And that set off a friendship between myself and that team. So I haven't been approached directly about a lot. I'm really out there looking more.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, you want to give me some spoilers then? What are you looking at right now that?
In terms of other protocols?
Right. In terms of you've got your three main stables right now that you're using to earn.
Yeah.
What can you give me some spoilers as to what is possibly?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We do have a smaller position in Flex IRA. I think we put $10,000 into Flex IRA. That is an interesting protocol. It's currently by invitation only, so it's not a situation that everybody can just run and get into. But so far, it's done pretty well. It's returning about 5% a day, and they're doing trades to generate their revenue. And it's, been consistent so far. Every once in a while they get a day, I guess, where they do very well, and the daily it's, is more. So it's not a fixed rate. It varies from day to day, but it averages about 5% a day. Or 0.5%, sorry, not 5%. And so that's one that we are actually in. A lot of times I will go in personally and look at a protocol and do a little investment myself personally before I even consider it for the speakeasy in general. So there's a couple of those that are in my personal wallet right now. I just put some few funds into something called Binance Matrix, I think it is. And literally just went into that. And I'm trying to think if there are any.
Sharing is caring, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there are others, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. So usually what I do is, like I said, I'll go ahead and put some personal money in just to see how the protocol is working if I don't know the players myself directly, and do it that way. And so that's kind of, what I've been at. I've been pretty focused on getting ready for the launch of our new token. So I haven't been quite as active with that in the last couple of weeks.
That seems like a good segue to move on to that part. So
sure.
Tell me about, it's called Drinks, right?
Yes, it is called Drinks. Okay. Yeah. And so the Drinks token, I have in the past, if any of you have listened to my AMAs and even in this one today, I usually make a point out of explaining that Speakeasy, it does not have its own token, and that's by design. And we aren't moving away from that in any way. One of the things that I wanted to do was to be able to come up with a way to introduce a token into our ecosystem, but do it in a way that would not negatively impact the primary Speakeasy protocol. It can positively impact it, but it really can't negatively impact it. And I'll explain why as we go through it. So that was really the mandate when I decided to do this. I wanted to do it because I think there's an opportunity there, both for our members as well as the Treasury itself, to generate some additional revenues, which is what we're all about, right? So, if we can generate even a small amount of revenue through this project, it would be enormously helpful to the Speakeasy protocol overall, because it just gives us that one more thing that we can feed back into the pot. And that's the entire name of the game as far as this protocol is concerned. So so the reason we're doing it is for that reason. One, to give our members another opportunity to do something within our ecosystem, and then also for the ecosystem itself to earn. So let's just take a little look at what it is. So the Drinks token, feel free to jump in and interrupt me if you want. The drinks token is a BEP20 token on Binance only. It's not on Ethereum or any other chain. And we will be trading it on PancakeSwap. But is it a meme token? Not really. It is a standalone token from that standpoint, but it's not really. I don't really consider it a meme token because it doesn't really have the same economics, and it does have utility within the Speakeasy ecosystem. And it's also going to be fully backed by the Speakeasy treasury. So we are not doing any pre-sales. All of the liquidity is being provided by Speakeasy for this, and so it will be a fair launch on next Saturday, this coming Saturday rather. And so when the token launches, everybody can get it, and nobody's getting it at a price better than anybody else can get it on PancakeSwap on that day. That's the basic setup of what it is. We've set the initial price. There'll be 475 million tokens set into liquidity in PancakeSwap. Those tokens will then be controlled by a multi-sig wallet right off the bat. And so the initial price is what you see there, 402. That isn't, of course, necessarily what you might end up paying. You know how it is when these things launch, they wildly fluctuate from the moment you set it, but that will be the liquidity set at launch. So it gives you some sort of an idea of what the general price range is going to be when we start. There are, by the way, there's 1 billion tokens.
Before you move on real quick, how have you decided how much the treasury is going to, what's the starting liquidity at? That's what I meant.
Yeah, based on this price, if you do the math, we're putting $9,000 in cash into liquidity to start. And at 475 million tokens, that's where you come up with the 4 zeros and a 2 price. So that's the initial liquidity. We're minting 1 billion tokens. We're minting them all. There will not be a function to mint any additional tokens beyond that. So the breakdown of that, as I said, it's 475 million tokens on PancakeSwap, which will then be controlled multi-sig. Then we're allocating another 475 million for our staking protocol. So you will be able to stake drinks to earn more drinks. Those tokens will be put in a lock for 6 months. And then we are keeping a small amount, 50 million tokens for paying out staff, doing some marketing, whatever we need to run this as a separate project. And those will be locked for 90 days. So everything will either be multi-sig or locked for a period of time by design so that nobody has to really worry about any sort of instantaneous rug or anything along those lines. I think we've built up a lot of goodwill in the community, but we always want to do the right thing, coming into it.
Just because I know people are going to ask while you're on that subject, audits, have you guys...
We will be applying for our audit. We just finished the contract, so we should have an audit in place by the time we launch. If we don't, I'll make sure to let everybody know what the status of that is, but they're usually pretty good about turning that around.
Okay. Are you using Stamp or are you using somebody else?
Probably Stamp, yeah. So then our tax structure is pretty fair. We're basically doing a 2% tax on all transaction types. So that means in, out of PCS, as well as in and out of the staking contract. So every transaction, there'll be a 2% tax on that. And so how this is bullish for Speakeasy, beyond just the ability for potential price appreciation and people to earn just trading, the token itself as that goes, all of these taxes will go directly to the Speakeasy bank wallet. So then Speakeasy can then determine whether or not it wants to invest those or then literally turn them right around and inject them into the pot to pay out rewards to Speakeasy. So this structure is such that funds will go into the main Speakeasy contract from drinks, and the only exposure that the contract has to the token is this initial $9,000 that the Treasury is putting up for liquidity. So after that, there's no risk. So even if for whatever reason the token did not succeed, that would not negatively impact the protocol.
That's your the highest risk. That's a cap of what you'll end up losing, but if it has upside, doing much better, I suppose.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, we just wanted to be very clear, why we're doing this and what the risk is and what the opportunity is. And so we think that, over time, it's going to be key that, at least my hope is that all of our members that will participate in this protocol and stake and do the right things, because that's a way that they can help their own bags, which really right now, it's kind of one of the areas that I realized as we were moving along that I didn't really have that opportunity available. Once you're in Speakeasy, right, and you've got your wallet set up, basically the only thing that you can do then at that point to contribute is to let it ride and or add some additional deposit to your bag as you go along. And that's a good thing, and that's supportive of the protocol. But it's pretty passive, and you can't really take a much more of an active role in the protocol than that. So one of the reasons that I wanted to do this as well was to give our members a chance to feel that sense of ownership, which they honestly have. It's their protocol. I'm just managing it. To be able to come in and understand how this part of it works and be able to participate by buying and staking Drinks tokens, knowing that that's helping the protocol as a whole and therefore helping their own bags. So I'm really sort of turning this back around on the community and going, okay, here's an economic feature that we've added to the protocol that you can use and do something about and feel good and hopefully earn money as well on buying and selling the token, of course. But it would also, help the protocol out. If, for instance, you are getting involved in trading and maybe you take an approach where you buy some token, you sell that token, you take whatever profits you've earned and half of it you stake and half of it you keep. And then you do it again. Or whatever system you want to come up with. We'll be recommending several, but the idea is, obviously work the system to your benefit, but try to do it in a way that also benefits the protocol because you're earning then on the long-term end in your Speakeasy bag as well.
Okay. So tell me, what will the token do?
Okay. Staking is probably the biggest thing that you can do with it once you've purchased it. So we will be having a staking protocol, as I said. The APR has now been set at 60% APR. And so basically the way this will work, it's just a very standard, simple staking contract. You will be able to define as the depositor how long you want to stake your tokens for. Doesn't matter how long you stake them for, the APR will stay static. So whether you stake them for a week or for a year, it's still the same APR at 60. And then there are these minimums and maximums that you can come in to it. So this is the primary initial utility for the token, but beyond just buying and selling, obviously, and the potential price appreciation. Because again, we're going to be working to make people aware of the Drinks token outside of our community, and we're going to be working on that very hard because it's a benefit for a couple of reasons. One, if we have new blood, so to speak, coming in and buying the token, even if they're not coming into Speakeasy proper and buying a Speakeasy bag and setting that up, if they're buying this token, they are supporting the protocol because the protocol is earning on the taxes. And it also then, of course, gives us fresh eyes on the main protocol itself. Like, oh, what is this Drinks token? It's a utility token for what? Oh, Speakeasy. What is Speakeasy? So it's a way. So in that side of it, it's kind of a marketing play, right? So that we can get more people interested in our protocol through getting excited about a token. And so that's definitely a part of it. So staking is number one. In the future, as we move forward, there are going to be lots of other types of utilities that play in with Speakeasy. So again, we talked about that, just staking. We're also going to be setting up a program. Basically, for those of you who are in the protocol already, you know, and I mentioned earlier that we have our membership key card level, which is the first level of NFTs that allows you to buy cocktails and do other things in the protocol. We're also going to make it possible for you to get that status without buying the NFT, but rather by holding or staking a certain number of drinks tokens. We haven't defined that yet because we've got to get the token launched and understand what the value is. But we will be offering a way for people to come in and get the same status as if they bought an MKC simply by buying and holding drinks token. Same thing. Ultimately, we're looking at being able to, we have like an NFT called the SHOT NFT, which is a 0.2% boost with one NFT. We're looking at some ways to do this with, again, holding and staking the drinks token to get a small APR boost by doing that instead of buying a SHOT NFT. We're also looking, this page that I'm talking about is going to happen at launch, just to be clear. This is just where we're heading with this. We're also looking at the possibility of being able to purchase unused NFTs that are on the secondary market currently and buying them from the owners for drinks tokens, going the other way. So if somebody can't find a buyer for their NFT on the secondary market, which is kind of the case with a lot of the smaller ones or with the MKCs, they might want to take in exchange drink tokens instead, that the treasury would then buy those NFTs off them. So we're looking at that as well. And then finally, go ahead.
Forgive me real quick. Are people going to be able to use the drinks token to mint new NFTs? That seems like a pretty easy one in there too.
Yep. Yeah, ultimately. Yeah. So all of these things will be, a part of it. But like I said at the beginning, all of these things are around the core protocol. So no matter if you're getting boosts or whatever, you're not depositing drinks into the main contract. That's still BNB, and it's always going to be BNB and BNB out. So this is just sort of peripheral to the main contract. And then finally, we're going to use drinks for promos with other projects. We're already talking to several other projects right now about how we can do some cross promotion, some opportunities where, let's say, you can buy one NFT that gets you X number of drinks and X number of whatever other token. So we'll definitely be doing that. Not ready to announce anything yet, but we're already talking about it. And then also, the idea of having a token gives us the ability to use drinks in future features like you talked about minting NFTs. That would be an example. Or potentially having other projects that are coming from our team that is not Speakeasy, that is something else. I can't say other than that there might be the possibility that new projects coming down the road might be able to take drinks tokens as well. So all of this utility we can build out on after we get it launched. And again, as you can see now, this is how we're going to do it in a way that is only upside for the main contract and lets it stand on its own that way.
When you were talking about being able to mint the NFTs with different things, it made me think of like DeGods and so on. Where do you think this is something that it'll end up morphing into? Where let's say I already have all your NFTs, right?
Yeah.
And now you have the drinks token. If I were to somehow able to give extra utility to my existing NFTs by morphing them, or I forget what DeGods called it. It's like an evolution or something where NFT. You already have the NFT that I minted with BNB, but now if I use the drink token to upgrade it, then it becomes, something else. Maybe it will unlock something else. Is that something you're looking down the line to, sir?
I mean, not specifically at this point, but certainly anything along the lines of those concepts, yes. I mean, this gives us a tool to use to do a lot more within the parameters of the protocol than we could do, since we didn't have a token before. So now that we're going to have a token, it allows us to get creative and do a bunch of stuff, but I just didn't want to do it in a way that would at all put at risk the current architecture that we have. So for instance, we could even potentially do another speakeasy that is with drinks tokens, but it would be completely separate from the current one, so that we'd have a BNB version of Speakeasy and a drinks token version of Speakeasy. That's another possible. I'm not saying we're doing that. I'm just saying that that's one of the things that we're looking. There's a bunch of ideas that come out of having the flexibility of having your own token, but I just didn't want to,
want that to be the core of the business. You wanted that to be an extra.
Right. And I wouldn't be fair to our members if all of a sudden we said, hey, guess what? We're not going to be paying you out in BNB anymore. We're going to be paying you out in drinks token. That would not go over well, and rightly so. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted this to be standalone, but benefit the main protocol. So I think we are achieving that, at least on paper. It's just like anything else, right? Until we launch this thing and get out there and see how it actually works, we don't know for sure how successful it can be. But we know that it's not going to hurt us. It could only help us.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of the way you put things together. I know it's super complex behind the scenes, but I like the simplicity of the approach of the interface and all that stuff to me, because, we've been talking. We've been talking on and off for a couple of weeks now, so you kind of know I'm a little lazy. I want things to just be easy.
Well, we're trying to make it as easy to the end user as possible. That's for sure. But I totally get it. And I think that, the thing that's interesting, like I said, about DeFi, especially right now, is that, it's not just a challenge for a team lead running a project. It's a challenge for every individual investor out there to try to find, reliable projects that aren't going to rug. And then after that, will they make me any money? That's a tall order for everybody as an individual investor. So imagine trying to do that at the protocol level. And so you have to be creative, and you have to rely on your community to understand what you're doing, support what you're doing. And this is like I said, this is a way that people can take part in the actual health of the protocol beyond their initial investment in Speakeasy. Because when you think about it, if you were the team lead of Speakeasy, you would have a different attitude than you probably do. And by that, I mean, a lot of times I get people that are in the protocol going, why don't we have more new members? Why don't we have more new investors? And we're not getting enough new wallets into the system. And I'm like, yes, I don't disagree with that we could use more, certainly. But if you think about it from my perspective, every BNB that comes into our protocol is 3 BNB out of our protocol at some point down the road, right? Because we've got to pay that back, or we're trying to anyway. We don't have to, we're trying to. And, that's the whole name of the game with any of these protocols. So I always look at it and go, it's a mixed bag. I see a max wallet come in and I go, oh, that's great. And then I'm like, oh, that's 60 BNB that we're going to have to try to, make good on down the road. And I think we have a protocol that can handle this kind of thing, obviously, but you have to think about it that way. And so if you're in the protocol as an investor, you also have to think about it that way, because we all want to try to keep this going for as long as possible to get to that point of ROI and beyond. Because even if it doesn't last long enough to go full 3x, which I'm not projecting anything here. I'm just saying it. Even if that happens, if you end up earning and at least ROIing, then, it's a pretty positive experience in DeFi right now. And I cannot do that alone for everybody. I'm just putting the program in place, and Jack is just writing the contract, and everybody is pushing the buttons and has to understand that, my job is not to make money for you. My job is to put together a protocol that you like, that you think can work for you. And so what I'm really trying to do with this Drinks token is to challenge the community to get involved and use this as a tool to help the overall protocol. Try to take your profits from the main protocol in BNB, and let's extend that. And don't worry as much about generating a large amount of profit from the token. Use the token to help the protocol, if that makes sense. Now, I could be totally naive and think, people are not going to do that. They're just going to follow their own best instincts for themselves. And if that's the case, then fine. We'll all see that come out in the wash. If everybody is just really selfish about how they handle this token, then so be it. But I can only put these things out there and go, hey, I think this is good. And I think that if we all work it this way, we can succeed. So it's all up to everybody listening to decide whether or not that's the way they want to, run it. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
I like soapboxes. I'm on one all the time. Okay. What sparked the idea for the Drinks token? The environment. Again, when we launched the project, we were looking at a certain, set of parameters. And one of those parameters, was one of the parameters was what we thought we could reasonably earn in rewards out of EMP, since that was our largest investment. Well, not because there's anything wrong with the EMP protocol. It's just the circumstances have begun that the farm has gone down about 50% since the time we started Speakeasy. So that's a big deal for us. Again, I'm long-term bullish on EMP, but we still have to generate revenue. And so wasn't planning on that happening. But it happened. So then we have to, sort of go, okay, well, how else can we sustain what we need to be paying out our rewards? So that's why I was saying, I had to pull some of that, not sell any EMP, but use the Ethereum and put it somewhere else. In this case, opportunity cost is real. It's you can't let something.
So
cost you money.
Right. And so to answer your question, as I was thinking about this and going, okay, we have to pivot. How do we best pivot? I had always thought about doing a token, but I didn't want to do it from the very beginning because I just felt that we needed to earn credibility within our community before we started introducing a token that doesn't have any value to anybody outside of our ecosystem. And so I didn't want to do that until I felt we had done a pretty good job managing what we already had. And I think we've done that. So I was like, okay, I think this is a good time for this, because this can potentially give us an opportunity to earn some additional income for the protocol that we may be losing currently, maybe not permanently, but currently with what we have invested in EMP. So that was really the trigger point.
I like it. All right. And the launch date is, tell me more about the launch date and pre-sale.
Yeah, launch date is this Saturday, the 20th, at noon Eastern, which is 4 p.m. UTC. So the way this is going to work is, like I said, there is no pre-sale. Nobody is getting an advantage on price over anybody else. The Speakeasy Treasury is providing 100% of the liquidity into this. So basically what's going to happen is on Saturday at that time, we will provide the token wallet a token address. And at that point, you'll be able to go to PancakeSwap and purchase the token, and everybody will be doing that all at the same time. So the launch is fairly simple.
You're not doing like these things typically are like stealth launches. You're not going to do anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I think it's stealthy in the sense that we're a small protocol anyway. I don't really.
Well, I think the reason I'm bringing that up is sometimes these launches are thoughted. Have you taken? I know that.
Oh, yes.
The dev behind it is the same person, right?
Yeah, Jack T.
Jack from Frosted Flakes, and he did your Speakeasy protocol. I just want people to know who did it.
And he's also with the Fortune Hunters group on a lot of their stuff. So he's very knowledgeable. And I will say, without going into any detail of how we are aware of the bot situation, and we have things that we're going to be doing to try to keep that to a minimum, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, thanks. But I like it. Okay. What would you, given everything you've been through, and given that this is your second go at this, so to speak, and the first go went fairly successful. What do you think that is? You think that's made you more confident? Do you think that made you any lax a little bit?
I don't know if it makes me more confident. I mean, I think that, it's, I take this seriously, and I take my responsibility to putting the best project out there I can seriously. It means something to me. I don't feel a personal responsibility for everybody's funds, because that's the beauty of DeFi. Everybody is deciding for themselves where they want to put their money. But I do feel a responsibility to try to inform people about what we're trying to do and why we think it's a good idea. And then they make their own decisions from there. And so, I don't have any sort of magic sauce. I have a lot of really great people advising me in the background, which has been incredibly helpful, because, as you remember the story of Speakeasy, I had an initial idea, which I think was pretty good. But everything since then, I've learned a ton by talking to people, yourself included, about all of this and how to best approach it. I watch everything that happens around me, and other projects, their successes and failures, and try to bring that knowledge back into our protocol as much as I can.
Okay. I want to go back to a separate subject real quick, because I don't think we spoke about it the last time you were here. What is the back room? Tell me about that.
The back room. Oh, yeah. The back room, it basically started right after the protocol itself went live. And it was sort of really, it's interesting that you bring it up, because it sort of was also trying to address this issue of, one of the good things about the Speakeasy protocol is it's super passive, but that's also in some ways kind of a downside, because you don't have much interaction with the community, or, because it's not that type of a protocol. So the back room, the initial idea of the back room was for people who have a little bit more risk tolerance and wanted to get involved with some of the things that the Speakeasy treasury was looking at, that they could come into the back room and be exposed to opportunities that were outside of the Speakeasy protocol itself and get involved in those. Maybe they're projects they hadn't heard about, or we would bundle them in a way that made it more attractive. We've done that several times now, by, like, again, I'll use Foodtopian as an example. They were doing their initial raise and such, and we bought a bunch of their NFTs and then bundled them with one of our NFTs and sold them in the back room only. Same thing with BurnSwap. Actually, we bought BurnSwap NFTs, pre-sale NFTs, and we bought Burns tokens, and we bundled that all together also with some X burn that they gave us for buying so many NFTs up front. And we bundled all that together and created a package in the back room for people to purchase that. And we actually, even though we paid $100 per NFT, we sold them at $95. Just to give value to the people that are in the back room a little bit. And so we do things like that. That's what it is. It's just a way for people that maybe have a little bit more free investment income and a little bit higher risk tolerance to get involved in some other things that aren't directly speakeasy related. So that's what the back room is.
Are any of those funds funneled back to the protocol somewhere?
No, the only one that really is the very first opportunity that we did sort of like a syndicate sort of group funded max wallet into Speakeasy. And so we had like the ability to put 1 BNB, 2 BNB, or 5 BNB in, and we bundled that all up and created a max wallet that we put back into the protocol. But we've only done that once. So no, it's not really designed necessarily to be a revenue stream. It's more designed to foster community and give people opportunity. And it's also a great way. It's also a powerful tool for me as the project lead to be able to go into these other projects and go, hey, I'll buy 20 of your NFTs right now. And they'll go, oh, wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Who are you? And so then I'll say, oh yeah, well, I'm Kirk from Speakeasy and this is what we're doing. I like your project, and I think my, people would be interested in this. And so it's been a way for me to, it's very helpful if you're walking in the door, with money in your hand. So, it's been a pretty good way to approach it.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. I like your approach to things. You don't go raise the money for it. You bring in the revenue source, and you're like, okay, this is making money. Do you want to take a part in it? I think that's what amongst most of the people I've spoken to the past few months, I think that's what stands you apart. I've told you before, you're like that meme of Charlie Day with all the little,
yeah.
The little lines leading to X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. That's you, I imagine.
I think that's pretty funny.
I'm super excited to see, because I feel like I'm getting a front row seat to seeing how to make something work. I'm super excited to keep watching you and seeing what you're doing. So,
well, I that's really a compliment. Actually, I really appreciate you saying that, and and that's really kind of what I'm trying to do. Because, like I said, I'm just a guy who is very interested in DeFi and is very interested in trying to make it live up to its potential. And I've learned more than I've passed on in knowledge, I think, so far. And I just have the ability to do what I'm doing. And I think I'm fairly good at it. And so I, enjoy it. And so I want to put these things together and help people, because I remember when I first started in DeFi, I didn't know anything or anybody. And, the landscape was just full of people who were, interested in taking my money. And
it still is.
And still is. So, again, we don't have anything magical here, but at least we're honest and trying to share with everybody how we're doing this. I mean, everybody in Speakeasy knows how the sausage is made. They can look every day at our numbers and go, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. This is where the money is. Whether or not you agree with it or not, at least you know. And then you can make your own decisions. And so same thing with this new token. I mean, I have no problem explaining exactly why we're doing it and what we hope to achieve with it. And the nice thing about Speakeasy at this point is we don't have to make a ton of money to keep succeeding. We're not that big. I mean, we still have less than 400 investors, and the overall outlook, if we can continue to generate a reasonable amount of income, is that we can keep this thing going. And so I don't want to say, oh, I'm not feeling positive. It's just like, no, but it is something that we all need to keep working at. Everybody knows you should know from day one. Well, if I put in one BNB and you're saying you're going to give me 3 BNB back in, X number of months, how are you doing that? You can't make up money out of nowhere. How is that happening? Well, the way it's happening is this way. We're investing and we're creating and we're doing things to try to generate real revenues that we can bring back, because by design, BNB is not a Ponzi-nomics shit token. It's a real value token. So we're paying out in, a blue chip. So, that is something, that's hard, because again, we're not paying out in a native token. Even now, we're not going to pay out in a native token. So, I just want people to understand that, when they're in our protocol, we appreciate it. But I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's skirt about, I'm not saying the protocol's in trouble. I'm just saying it's going to always be work to generate this income.
I think what you're trying to say is I feel as though you've taken the greed aspect out of it, because I know exactly what I'm going to get. And there's not that, I don't feel like you guys have that insane, mad rush need that most other projects need to generate income, to make money. I don't think you guys necessarily need any more money to make money. I think you guys are in a great position to use what you have now to build something magnificent long term. And
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think, again, it's just like going back to like this slide that I shared, this one, okay, so here's where we are today. So you can look at this and go, so you mean that if you don't do anything in 15 weeks, you're out of money. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So we have to keep doing things, and keep it being at 15 weeks, or maybe growing it to 16 weeks or 20 weeks. But yeah, it just doesn't magically happen. So, my next goal, like I said to you before in this AMA with our community, is to try to educate them about this and say, hey, you're interested in this thing continuing long term. So am I. And so the money has to come from somewhere. And so let's all work together to make that happen. And, I can only say that. And so anyway, I'm excited about this new part of it. I'm very interested in how it's going to go. I think it's going to bring a lot of new eyes to the protocol that haven't been on it before. And so that's going to be interesting in and of itself. But yeah, I thank you for what your observations are about the community. And I think that's right. We don't have any drama in our community that I see in a lot of other communities. Yeah. It's actually, very sort of a reflection of the protocol itself.
There's none of that fear of being dumped on that is so
yeah.
toxic.
Yeah.
I don't feel that.
No, I don't think, the nature of the contract doesn't allow for that. So
I wanted to go back real quick to something else you said earlier. The drinks, you said the staking was just 60%, irrelevant of when you come in, who comes in, how much. It's just 60% at the end?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's
in the back of my mind.
There's a minimum maximum. There's a million minimum and a 250 million max. So that's the only real rules. But yeah, so you will be able to define.
So can I put in 2 million?
Anything between 1 and 250.
Okay. I thought it was one or the other.
Yeah, no. Sorry, it's a range. And so you'll just simply come in and say, yeah, I want to stake it for a week, or I want to stake it for a month, or I want to stake it for a year. There'll be more options than that, but, and then you just simply go, that's what I want. And it's just paying out that same APR for as long as you want to earn it, basically.
Okay. did you want to take any? I think I unmuted everybody, so if somebody wants to unmute themselves.
Sure, I'd love to take questions if there are any.
I don't. Everybody's unmuted, so feel free to unmute yourself to ask any questions in the room. I've been answering some in the chat, but nothing that you haven't answered. Nothing that I think you need to waste time on, because you've covered all of it. I'm trying to think what else could I possibly ask, because you've covered just about everything. The audit is good. The audit is coming, rather. Somebody was asking about trust and whatever, and so on. Our contracts audited in Team Docs. For that guy, I think you should just refer back to the previous AMAs and know that these guys have been, they already have a working protocol. I don't think that's relevant to, that's something for like the first project kind of thing, if that makes sense. Let's see. Do you see anything you want to ask? Well, answer rather, sir.
So,
okay.
It has been a great presentation so far. So can I go on with my question?
Sure.
So my question is, I would like to know, what is your strategy for the long-term health of this project? And I want to ask about security and marketing. Have you implemented to maintain security against hacker attacks? What form of advertising do you use to reach more of your projects?
Okay. The security question, I'm not really the best one to answer that. Jack, our developer, handles all of that and follows all of the, best practices and industry standards. I don't know exactly what you're looking for me to answer. You can, of course, we always do audits so that you can look at, a recap of our contracts in plain English that people can understand. So we're not doing anything really exotic with our contract, especially this token contract. It's a straight ahead token contract. There's nothing really elaborate about it. Most of the time what people want to know is, can you mint more? Is it, is it a locked contract? Is it updatable? And in both cases, no, it's not an updatable contract and we can't mint more token for this part of it. As for the Speakeasy protocol as a whole, you can go and read the audit for yourself. We scored, I believe it was an 83 on the audit, which is pretty high in the top 20 percentile of all scores that have happened this year, and very high considering that particular contract is a proxy contract. So that's about all I can think to say about security. Marketing, our main form of marketing has always been this right here, doing AMAs and talking to one person at a time, so to speak. We have not spent a ton of money on marketing for the primary protocol. I think that with the drinks token in particular, if we start to see some traction to the token, especially if we start to see some traction in the token and people that aren't in the protocol, we might be then willing to lay down some more marketing dollars if it's resonating with people. Again, this isn't a meme token, so we're not necessarily all that interested in like having a huge rush and FOMO and all that kind of thing, because this actually is a utility token that we want to be around for a while. So, so that's the best I can think of to answer those two questions.
I wanted to stay on that subject a little bit and perhaps ask you a couple questions on there. Having been, I think, me personally, I think marketing is like a meme. I'm not sure how to really explain that. I feel like, I'm in so many projects, I'm in so many rooms, and everybody is always asking, what are you doing for marketing? What are you doing for marketing? I don't think people understand what marketing actually is. I wonder if you could speak to that.
Sure.
What have you learned? What have you learned? again, I picture you as that guy that's obsessive compulsive over everything, spending a million hours researching something. What have you learned? Because you're obviously doing the good things. What have you learned that?
Yeah, I mean, in real life, I actually have quite a bit of marketing background and experience. And crypto is an interesting space from that perspective because, it isn't any sort of traditional marketing model will really work with crypto because it's not a real product. It's a product of imagination in some ways. And, so it's a difficult thing to market. And within the crypto space, there's a lot of different types of tokens that do different types of marketing, right? I mean, some people, when they'll say, well, have you thought about like doing billboards or like something, and I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't. And, not that there's anything wrong with that for a particular type of token, I suppose, but for ours, no, it doesn't make sense, especially for the cost of that relative to what we're trying to do. So you have to sort of look at it and go, am I just throwing money away? And I don't want to do that because I'd rather take those dollars and pay them out to the people in the protocol. So, I think that our marketing approach has always been so far, to do this, to bootstrap this. And that to me, the way that it makes the most sense so far has been to do it that way and to primarily do it through AMAs and relationship building. The best marketing I think I've done so far with Speakeasy is in my relationship building with other people in the space. That you can't buy that sort of advertising. I have now friends and people that run their own channels and stuff that will say nice things about me and nice things about our protocol, and you cannot buy that. You have to earn it. And so it's a lot more work than just throwing money at it. But, again, I've always had that attitude, which is the same reason why I've always said in all these AMAs, I'm not going to go to an influencer and pay him $10,000 or $15,000 to make a video to hype this protocol. And not because I think there's anything wrong with that. No shade at all to people that do that. But my perspective is I can't, at this level of a protocol, spend that kind of money and take a chance, with that. And nor do I have the protocol that will reward, because we don't do referrals. And anyway, without getting, too inside baseball, but I just think that the best marketing approach for us is what we're doing. And, a lot of people, it's kind of easy to sit on the sidelines and go, well, have you done this? Or have you thought about that? And yeah, usually the answer is, yeah, I've thought about it. But again, I don't want at the end of the day to be one of these projects where if this project ends in 6 months or 12 months or whenever it ends, if it ends, I don't want to be one of those people. And then everybody's looking back historically and going, why did you spend $100,000 on marketing? Well, because everybody was stressing me out about when marketing. I don't want that to be the answer to that question. I want to say I spent what I thought was reasonable, and the most of it went back to all you guys.
It's such a meme. I see these projects that raise like $350,000, $400,000 for marketing, and then they go buy a billboard, and then a week later the token is dead, and people are like, "Why are you not buying banner ads? Why are you not paying?" Because it doesn't work. It's a waste of money, and I wish. I so want to stop hearing this in these rooms. Anyways.
Yeah, well, I think I'm singing to the choir on this particular subject, but
yeah, you sure.
Yeah. So I guess go ahead. Sorry.
I guess the second part of that question, having such a good view of the industry, can you point fingers on like 2 or 3 things that you think most projects are doing wrong to perpetuate this marketing meme thing?
That's a tough question. I don't really want to
throw shade, but I want
throw shade at anybody. I guess I would just make the observation that it is hard. When you're sitting in my chair and getting DMs from people that most of which are well intentioned, but have a very specific point of view about what they think should be happening or not happening or what have you. It does put pressure on you as the person who's putting their face on or name on the line as the quote unquote team lead of a project. And so I think that sometimes I feel like maybe what I see is people in other projects maybe bowing to that pressure a little bit. And when things start to go not wrong or not, I don't even want to say wrong. If things start to not be sunshiny every second, like maybe the price goes down, or something like that. And everybody goes, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. And maybe it is, but nonetheless, it forces your hand sometimes. I feel that pressure certainly. And so I think that, I would say that probably is something that I see, that is just human nature, really. Fortunately, the way our protocol is set up, I don't get a ton of that. Now I may get more now because, the whims of a token are very different than what we're doing already, and so I may have this may be an entirely new learning curve when it comes to that. And if so, then fine. I still think it's a good idea to try this, and for a number of reasons that I've tried to articulate today. And and I'll come back in a couple of months and let you know if
how it goes, how it works.
How it worked. And so, but I do like the fact that even if I come back and go, that was a huge mistake, that it's not going to radically negatively impact our core protocol. So I feel pretty good about that.
No, I think that's part of the beauty of what you've built. Like I said, I feel the lack of. I don't feel any FOMO at all. I don't feel any no FOMO. I don't feel any greed. I know that I do this, I'm gonna get that, and for my ADHD, brain, it's awesome. I love consistency. Give me more, please, more. You know how I am about these things.
Sure.
I don't like surprises. Surprises are terrible. I hate surprises. Never surprise me. Just call me ahead of time. Tell me before. Never surprise me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Any thoughts you want to leave us on, sir? I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you got another.
I do.
On the store, and I tend to be, I can keep you here all day long. We know this. So.
Oh yeah, no. I think thank you first of all for providing the space and asking really good questions. I think that the only thing that I would leave you or the audience with is the same thing I've been saying all day, which is, I hope you take a look at this. I know people that are in the protocol already are mostly very excited about it. And hopefully maybe some of those that I see that are in the protocol already and in listening to this and listen to other AMAs. I'm doing 13 AMAs in the next 6 days. So I think that, hopefully people in our protocol will listen and get even more excited about the potential opportunities. But if not, that's fine too. And, we're just doing the best we can. It's the little DeFi protocol that could. And, I just really appreciate it. And, I'm looking forward to seeing where this takes us as a protocol.
Well said, sir. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. I really do like these follow-ups, especially when I like the protocol. And again, just to harp back earlier, I feel like I'm watching a few different protocols, and it feels like I'm getting to see how it's done from the the ground up kind of. I've always wondered how these things come together, how they work, and I guess that's one of the reasons I ask the questions I do, just because I'm so curious how. Because so many people have so many great ideas, but so very few people can make those ideas work. Because even a mediocre idea can work. You can have a great idea, but if you can't execute it, it's useless. So,
Right.
Speaking to people like you, it gives me hope. Thank you very much for coming here, sir. I appreciate your time. Oh yes, I'm gonna upload this video to YouTube after this, and I guess we're gonna do a giveaway for a random. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah.
What you decide, sir.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do.
1 random people, 2 random people, 5,000 random people. You tell me, sir.
Put me on the spot.
Of course, I don't like thinking.
Yeah, I mean, let's just pick a random person. 2 people. Okay, 2. That's great.
All right.
I do want to mention, I did forget that we do already have a website for the drinks token. I'll put our link tree in the chat here when we're done. But there is a website that I'm scrolling through right now that you can go and look at. It doesn't have a ton of information, but it does have a recap of everything that we talked about today. So, and gives the date of the launch, which again is this Saturday at 4 p.m. UTC. So we'll include that as well.
For the people that are going to be watching this later, I will have all the information for Speakeasy, drinks token, and all that stuff in the description and all that good stuff. So just scroll down. I guess I'm supposed to say like, subscribe, and all that stuff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day, guys. I'm going to turn off the recording.